Welcome back to Driven to Live. We're your hosts, Stephen Rivers.
Who's
This is
Garcia?
Jesus Garcia. This week, we're going to get hands on with the Subaru WRX. We're going to talk safety in older cars, and we're going to find surprising things about the Nissan Armada. And then we'll shout out some of the stories that we wrote or liked this week. Jesus, tell us about the WRX because you've had a full on go in it, and it's sitting in my carport right now.
Yeah, well, full disclosure, I haven't driven the WRX this year. I drove it last year. It was a 2025 model in 2024, but it was the WRX Subaru, had, the iconic blue paint job, sports seats, and more importantly, it was a manual. And I really enjoyed that car, even though Subarus and Evos aren't usually my thing. I do respect them for what they are. And when I wrote the review on that, I praised it for a lot of things, but most of all, I praised it for having a real traditional pull-up handbrake, which it's becoming super rare these days. And I always try and shed a little bit of light on that because as not because we're not just automotive journalists, we're car enthusiasts. More importantly, we're driving enthusiasts, and every year it feels like you're just chipping away at that aspect when it comes to modern cars. And so people always say, save the manual, save the manual. It's like, yes, yes, definitely should. But more importantly, we got to save the handbrake or the foot brake, any of those things, because without that, then you really can't have a lot of fun with a car unless you're doing something extremely stupid at high speeds. Case in point, I don't know how many of you grew up whenever you have, a mall or the school, after school, it's just empty parking lot. You got a small car with a handbrake or foot brake, and you just go 20, 25 miles an hour and you just slide it around. Why? Because it's
Tons of
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Tons of fun.
Not only that, it teaches you great responsive reflexes on how to do car control. I mean, that's how everyone starts. Just pull around. That's how I started when I was 16, 17 years old with my truck. That doesn't have a handbrake, it has a foot brake. So you just hit it, spin it, pull it out, keep going. I mean, stunt people in the film industry today, when they're prepping a car for stunts, especially a modern vehicle that doesn't have any of that, they have to rip everything off and install a hydraulic foot brake because that's how you can do the stunts in movies. Because you can't do it when it's stock because it's just a little electronic e-brake, which doesn't work. And we before the podcast, we talked about that. Like, I don't understand how this little electronic button makes it better. Like, why was that the solution to replace just a regular, you know, wire handbrake or parking brake, emergency
Manual.
brake, whatever you call it? So when you drive it, you know, if you find it at the parking lot, rip it. Feels awesome.
It seems like a great little car, and I feel like there are two stages to this discussion for me. One, I'm just excited to drive it. It's the first new WRX I've driven in a long time. The seven people that I know that will watch this know that I had a WRX for a long time. Humongous fan of the platform in general in the older days. Today, I feel like Subaru has completely lost its way in almost every way.
Yep.
Uh, People who look at the stats of a modern WRX should be rightfully disappointed with the progress that Subaru has made over the years. The WRX really hasn't become some stellar world-beating performer, or I should say, it hasn't continued the legacy that it initially started with as a world-beating performer and a four-seat, five-seat sedan that could shuttle people, be kind of practical, and be a ton of fun at the same time. It's just not that car anymore. And if you look at the very last STI, in terms of performance, sure, it was stiffer, the steering was better, the little articulatable things were good, but the thing basically had the exact same power, a worse power to weight ratio than it did originally. Genuinely disappointing. But the second part of this, and it'll bleed really nicely into our next conversation, the safety aspect of it. I love the idea of being able to rip a handbrake and have fun with it. I remember ripping a foot brake in my old Buick Regal that I put the dumbest straight pipes on.
Yeah.
and having a ton of fun with it, literally just like ripping, 180s and stuff on public roads like a complete idiot at, the age of 20 or 25. You can't do that now. And beyond just the fun factor, what happens when there's a safety issue? A couple weeks ago, uh, I wrote a story about a Volvo owner who got a software update, and later that day, or the next day, I think it was driving down a mountain pass and lost braking capability entirely because of a bad software update. The Volvo is like seemingly panicking to get fixed at this point across all the cars that are affected. But this guy was in the same situation that you're talking about with one of those dumb little switches. Like there's nothing else he could have done. There's no manual rip it handbrake. There's no foot brake. There's no additional layer of safety there.
Yeah.
And based on all the data that we have, I mean, this guy did everything right. He's using his manual brakes. He's got the vehicle in the right setting. So it'll be interesting to see if we can't get a hold of a representative, maybe from Subaru or someone, to give us an insight on, what are the ins and outs of this? Because I could be wrong, but I feel like other Subarus have the little switch,
Yeah.
right?
I've driven the new Outback. It has a switch. And then it's not just Subarus. Like a lot of the modern car companies, like there are like the new Hondas, the SIs that you can't
Mm,
get manual, don't have a parking brake. Mazdas
mm,
with a manual don't have a parking brake. They just a little switch.
mm.
Like, but what's the point then?
Yeah.
Just at that point, just give me an automatic. I mean, in a CVT, like the only reason why I wanted a hot hatch with a manual was because you had a handbrake and you could rip it. You drive, clutch in, put it in first, rip it, spin it around, full set on the gas, up the clutch, and you just take off the deck in the other direction. Front tire smoking. That is the best feeling in the world when you nail it in the first try. So now you can't do that. And again, like you said, when it comes to safety, if you're going downhill, and this is the thing with a lot of modern cars, like if you're trying to manually take control, because of the situations, the computer can't always understand what you're trying to do. So you're like, all right, I want to put in neutral. Why not let you? I want to try and gear down with the little paddles. It probably won't let you because like, no, that's unsafe. I'm not trying to do that. It's like, yeah, but I'm going downhill. I'm trying to stop it. So yeah, I mean, there has to be more options for the driver to be able to assess situations without having to depend on the car's computers. Because again, like it's like with anything else, if you put all your faith and trust and hope into a computer system, guess what? What if it crashes? What if the power goes out? What are you left with?
Yeah. It's wild too. Volvo has recently come out and made it clear that that software update that messed everything up was a software update intended to fix the rear view camera.
Yeah,
So you're trying to fix this thing that, like, I mean, is objectively nice. It's nice to have a rear view camera, but I feel like I remember when those became a thing, a lot of people were like, I can't, you're telling me I don't need to just turn my head and do this the way we've done it for 100 years? I mean, it's a nice little piece of tech, but like, I cannot believe that. I mean, if you watch this video of this guy, it's terrifying. I mean, if he literally drives up onto the wall of the mountain to stop himself from continuing down it, all over a rear view camera update. That's insanity. Anyway, moving on to the safety conversation, you sent me what is both a shocking and hilarious photo this week. Tell us about it.
yeah. Well, it's making the rounds currently. Went viral. Basically, this guy in Detroit who drives a pristine, just absolutely flawless 1973 Chrysler New Yorker. Which, if you don't know what that is, just picture whatever Goodfellas drove. I mean, it's a mafia type car. It's an early 70s, just a boat, four doors, 20 feet long. It is massive, Detroit steel. And in 73, that is right at that edge before, oil embargoes and everything, small checks before that changed. Uh, and this guy took a photo, just posted it on his Instagram because what I found out later, a second generation Kia Rio bashed into the back of his car. Just didn't see him, hit him rear-ended. The Kia Rio disintegrated. like no front end, nothing. And the Chrysler, the only thing that fell off that car was the license plate bracket. Like the bumper didn't even dent.
It genuinely looks amazing. It looks like someone just took the time to go and remove the license plate bracket.
I thought it was fake. I was like, oh, is this AI? Is this like, did he just see a car smashed up and just back up into it and just like, look, he hit me? But no, like he like that's what happened. It was just a freak accident, a total accident. But it showed the dramatic of, all right, this is a car built over what 50 years ago now, compared to modernish econo box. And yeah, and then of course when you see that, people always say, "Oh yeah, built like tanks, older cars are safer." And I was like, "Well, I mean, they are stronger if you hit them in the right angle, but that's only because they don't crumple. They're not designed to crumple. That's the whole point of modern cars, that they disintegrate because they absorb the impact for you.
Yeah.
These old cars, no, it's like, all right, you just bounce around in the interiors, while the car's like, all right, well, they're built to resist full frame chassis, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that force that goes into that Chrysler goes into you too.
Yeah,
Whereas in the Kia, you can tell by the photos that Kia sucked up a ton of energy in the process.
yeah. They stand in front of you and take the punch for you. That's why, you see all these mangled wrecks and people just get out of it. Yeah, because they're just 10 airbags go off at the same time and they just walk away. You don't have a car anymore, but you're alive. So, it's a fair trade-off in my book. And look,
Yeah, absolutely.
I drive my 1971 Cadillac Eldorado and my 78 Thunderbird, and I see just this 6 feet of metal between me and the front bumper, and it feels fantastic. You do feel invincible, but I'm like, yeah, but I know that if someone hits me on the door, like if a little if the modern like if a Honda CR-V hits me straight from the driver's side on an intersection, I might not walk away because I don't have anything to protect me. It's just gonna be solid, heavy door, hit me right in the ribs. And then if I hit something dead on, I might be okay. Or that big old V8 is gonna drop. It's gonna be shoved into the dashboard and impale me. So I mean,
Man, what a great point. You're totally right, Jesus. You're totally right. And I don't think people think about that enough, is that when you have a head-on collision or you hit the front of your vehicle, new cars are designed for the engine, the transmission, whatever's going on. It's designed to crumple away from the cabin, not into it.
not only that, but I mean, I have headrests in these old cars, but they're not headrests. They're just there to kind of protect my neck. So I mean, and only have lap band seatbelts.
Yeah.
So even if I survive, the whiplash is gonna be insane. It's gonna be from
Yeah.
my tailbone all the way to my neck, just wow. And that's if I have a face left over after I smack this wheel. So I love the comment section on all these photos have been great because like, oh, old cars, tanks, new cars are safer. I like the debates, but it's just like, all right, just remember, like there's older cars were built to a certain degree, but safety wasn't the first concern. Like, I mean, it's still an era where like, you just had lap band seat belts, and sometimes there was still an option if you wanted them or not. I mean, this was an era where they were more focused on how many ashtrays you could fit in the car versus like ratings. So if I had to
Yeah.
wreck a car, I'd rather wreck a new one than an old one for all the reasons.
For all the reasons. That's a great point. For all the reasons.
But that photo does look hilarious because it looks like, this car just smashed into the back of this big old 70s boat, and the car just like, what was that? Who threw that piece of paper at me? And I just laughed.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine the insurance adjuster looks at the Chrysler, it's like the license plate bracket fell off. Sorry, man, it's gotta be totaled. Can't find that. Sorry. And again, it's funny because I gotta research, but I don't think that year of Chrysler, by that time, I don't think that one has a chassis. I think those were unibody because at the time, a lot of Chrysler were unibodies, which means
Mm.
they didn't have a steel chassis underneath it. It was just a capsule of steel that it just didn't flinch. Kind of like Dodge Chargers of the era, but that's
It,
getting the weeds of it. But
well, it makes me, you know what? I think in like a fender bender, like a 5 mile per hour thing, That's when you want to be in one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think it
Because if
was.
you get in that in a new car, it's gonna dent or ding it pretty good.
Oh yeah, it might get totaled just because of that, because all the new cars have sensors and cameras in the bumpers now. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be all right. Well, now it's gonna be 4 weeks in the shop, so you get the new parts installed, and you have to call through an insurance claim adjuster, and that's if they want to fix it, because I don't want to fix it because it'll be a pain in the ass. Whereas these old cars, just buff right up, good to
Yeah.
go. I mean, that's what they had in the 70s. They had those 5 mile per hour impact bumpers.
Yeah, I remember that.
They looked enormous and kind of ugly, but they were designed to be okay at 5 mile per hour. So,
Yeah.
tap somebody in the parking lot.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of a car that you definitely don't want to crash, but that you'd probably be safe in if you did crash, the Nissan Armada. Tell me your thoughts. We've both had a go in at least one of these. I know I've gotten to drive two different ones, and I've gotten to drive two of the Infinity versions. So, what are your thoughts, Jesus?
Well, the Nissan Armada is meant to be the flagship SUV of the brand. Like that is the big boy. That is the top of the line. That is the all in all for Nissan. It's a big
As
SUV.
the name suggests, yeah.
I drove the Pro 4X variant earlier at the beginning of the summer, and right now outside I have the new Platinum Reserve, which sounds like
Oh,
so I got the two extremes. I got the off road and the full size luxury. It looks great. I really like it because it's basically the Nissan Patrol that everyone else overseas gets. So now I think they finally brought it over to us. So yippee! Looks great. The seats are really good. The layout is really nice. But the Pro 4X, I didn't notice it because I thought, well, it's kind of an off-road package, so it's kind of expected. But I recently I drove this Platinum Reserve last night just to go run some errands, and I was extremely surprised because I know it has 22-inch wheels, but I felt all the bumps on the road, on the highway. I felt all the ruts. I felt all the imperfections, and I was just like, "Why? This thing is $82,000. I shouldn't feel anything. I shouldn't feel anything except for a speed bump or a pedestrian I run over. Okay, I don't want to feel anything."
are you sure it's only 82?
Oh, that one's 82,000. One on in that current spec, like as is, 82,000 and change,
Okay.
which is shocking. But you do have, I do like that you have 425 horsepower
Yeah.
out of this. That's pretty awesome. You get massaging seats, which again, I think they need to recalibrate what massaging seats on these new vehicles, because I've driven a lot of cars with massaging seats, and massaging is a very loose term. Like they're just gonna
Yep.
press the back of your neck. It's nice. Like I'm not gonna complain about it, but
I would rather have it than not have it. I'll say that much.
I'm just like, well, it's kind of like when you go to the airport and you see those massaging chairs. You're just gonna, all right, put $2 in it and sit down for a minute. It's the same thing. Um, I, I wouldn't call it a massage. It was just kind of like maybe a gentle shove. Like, it's like, I mean, I get a better massage from my cat doing those muffin tops.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I almost think the ones yeah, okay. I almost think the airport massagers are better. Um I've driven the exact same one that you're driving. I just double checked the price because I was like, man, I feel like it was more expensive than that. I'm sure I'm thinking of the Infinity QX80. Um and I've driven the Pro 4X as well, which was 75,750. I'll tell you, I think in terms of styling,
Yeah,
fantastic. I think they look awesome. One of my colleagues over at CarScoops, Michael Gauthier, called it a luxurious body on frame battleship, and that is a totally good description. And I think it kind of explains too some of the ride quality stuff that you're mentioning, being able to feel everything. Like, yeah, it does have giant wheels and tires, right? But beyond that, it's like it is it is kind of a truck. I
yeah,
mean, in a way, it's a truck, right? And so it's just not going to ride as smoothly as something like a Range Rover. And and there's upsides and downsides to that. Like I'll tell you right now, the Pro 4X, I took that thing off road and it was really good. Like
it was
I
great.
was genuinely impressed at what it could do. But I'll be totally honest. I hate driving the Armada, the QX80, both of them. They feel huge to me. Like Armada could not be a better name because to me it feels like every single turn you're just like, "Ah,
The thing was,
ah."
you said it feels like a truck. Yes, and
Yeah,
these like the Frontier has that hydraulic steering system instead of electronic and so it feels stiff and it's
yeah,
heavy. The Armada, I think, has the same steering system, and so you have a luxury SUV with heavy steering.
yeah.
So not only do you feel the bumps, but you're driving, you're making those turns, and you have to crank it. And you're like me, I just got up a long day at work where I have to drive all day and all that, and then you drive into this, which is supposed to be my pampered SUV, and it feels like I'm getting an arm workout. I can feel my forearms burning, making 3-point turns in the parking lot. I'm like, what am I paying for? What is this?
Yeah. And I don't mind. I like,
And it's still
we all go ahead, sorry.
no, and like the steering is heavy and vague. Like I'm driving the Armada, and you're doing like 80 miles an hour, and you still feel like this is a battleship because I'm just sailing around
Yeah,
it. I don't have
100%.
I don't really know what the prongs are doing. I just kind of like, or I'm just aiming.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it follows my directions. I get better
yeah,
road with my old Cadillac because I mean
yeah.
that was really front wheel drive, but I don't like that steering, and I don't like the way it rides for what
Yeah.
it's supposed to be, which is a full size luxury. I know full frame chassis SUV, but I mean, its other main competitors, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Jeep, they can do the same things, and they feel and drive a lot nicer. So,
Oh my God. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer
yes,
drives awesome.
yep,
Awesome. Just as big, it's bigger. The third row is huge comparatively. Tons of cargo space, and it's better off-road, and it still drives
yeah.
amazing.
Is it the most reliable? Really,
Oh
but
yeah.
when it works, it really works. Then you have like the Ford Expedition, the new ones, which I don't like the way they look. I think they look kind of like a. It looks like they're doing the impression of a Suburban, but again, they drive really nice. That you want that big old soft steering, but also have a little bit of control. You want it to glide over the road. The Nissan Armada, it didn't get the memo. It's still trying to be a tough off-roader and go over sand dunes. Like, no, we're in the city now. Take it down.
It feels like a generation behind to me.
So I mean, and I feel bad for Nissan because they're having a really tough year and they just can't catch a break.
All
But yeah,
right, other stories from the week. It was a busy week in news. There was a lot of stuff that went down. Tesla launched a six-seater Model Y in China called the Model Y L. So that'll be interesting. Almost certain it's going to come to the USA. Any thoughts on that, Jesus? Pretty boring.
I am not a Tesla fan, but not for the reasons most people assume. Because I used to be, I don't like Teslas, but now people say, oh, because of political reasons. No, I just don't like them. They're not good cars in my opinion.
That's fair.
They have no design. The interiors are about as exciting as a doctor's waiting room, and they make worse drivers. Like if you get somebody who's only driven Teslas, it's sticking to any normal car, they're gonna be like, "What do you mean it's not gonna brake for me? What do you mean I can't do this? I have to try
Mm,
to drive this thing." Okay, so I think it's backwards in terms of
next, maybe next week or the week after, we'll have the debate on what car brand makes the worst drivers. Put it down, folks. Other interesting stuff. Saw a crazy police chase here in Arkansas on July 4th. The worst way to celebrate July 4th is to run from the Arkansas State Police. This dude this dude cooks up to like 158 according to the police. Still manages to get caught. Um, Granted, this is ASP, and if it's daytime, there's a lot of them out there. And this happened, no joke, 10 minutes from my house. He narrowly avoids some spike strips at well over 100 miles an hour. The cop directly behind him almost looks like he gets like he gets the spike strip, like he gets his right front punctured, maybe. I can't tell for sure from the video. But it's interesting, they're coming down the road, and then the road bends hard right before coming back to the left. Both The guy running in his Dodge Charger and the cop completely miss the turn. They both barrel over the median. The guy running flips his car. He and his passenger get out. They're fine, but they get arrested, obviously.
Yeah,
But
modern
they
car.
hit they hit a random motorist in a Toyota Grand Highlander. Of course they did. The cop nearly hits another innocent motorist himself and destroys his car. He like falls down into a ditch, blows up all of his suspension, airbags go off. Totally a wild chase, worth a watch, but also a good reminder that like
You
police
know,
chases might be some of the dumbest things that police do.
it's funny because this is very recent. It's almost like, are cop cars free these days? Because I mean, I grew up watching like World's Wildest Police videos, and back then I remember it's like any chase over 90 was like, whoa, these guys are nuts.
Yeah,
Now they're doing 150, 160, and it used to be like, all right, that's what they taught us. You can't do a pit maneuver unless it's under 45 and there's no other traffic around and it's safe. Now they're just pitting cars at 110 on a busy highway and they're clipping other vehicles and they're wrecking too. I'm like, what is happening? What where's the new policy that I want to read it? What's the rule now of like you just pit anyone whenever you can, doesn't matter, F it, Grand Theft Auto rules. What is happening? It's almost like the
yeah,
cops are enjoying it as much as the people trying to escape.
yeah.
And
I mentioned it.
I mean, the footage looks incredible, but I'm always like, I would be really upset if now I got hit as a result of this well placed video. Now, like, I can't imagine the nightmare of dealing with city government to get your car repaired after Trooper XYZ wiped out and creamed your Toyota Highlander.
I could be totally wrong, bro, but I'm pretty sure here, at least here in Arkansas, if you're the victim of either a cop or a random person who's running from you, if you get hit by either one, the state doesn't care. They're not gonna they will not even have a conversation with you about how it's not their fault. They're just not gonna even come close to that. They're gonna expect you to go through your insurance and have your insurance pay for the damage and have your insurance handle the situation and all that stuff. And it's funny you bring it up because I mentioned in the piece over at Road and Track that the Department of Justice says this is all police nationwide should be reducing chases, that they are one of, if not the most dangerous thing that police do, and that the risk to public safety is often much higher than the potential reward of catching whoever the rando is uh, that's behind the wheel. In this case, it sounded like this guy was running because he had expired tags. And so, genius.
The day has been saved. Thank you.
The day has been saved. That's right. We caught a guy with some expired tags.
I understand you were chasing like a serial killer
Yeah,
with two victims in the trunk already in pieces. Like, hey, we gotta shoot this guy down. I get that. But if you're just chasing a guy whose speed was running for maybe they're doing for clout, 'cause people do that these days. They're insane. What's the point of having all these cameras to record license plates, make a model, and then just radio in, hey, 10 miles ahead, hey, look out for this car. Send an APB. That's the whole point of having surveillance and
yeah,
and tons of officers in the area.
yeah,
You don't have to, be a smoking the bandit situation and just chase them down into the ground. You know, I get it. It's fun, especially if you have a Dodge Charger V8 with a big old push bar and you want to knock them. You want to be the road warrior. You want to be Mad Max. I get that, but the streets are too crowded to do that.
yeah. And it's funny too. This particular chase, and you make another great point there. Like, why aren't they using surveillance? Why aren't they using all the people that are out there? This exact chase, the guy did get away for about 10 minutes. They didn't know where he was. They couldn't find him. And guess what? Guess what he was doing when they found him? He wasn't blazing down the road at 90 again. He was calmly on the highway at 60,
Yeah,
which lends credence to the idea that if you back off, they're gonna slow down. They will eliminate the safety threat on their own more often than not if you give them space.
yeah, because they will panic. Oh, I lost them. And they'll have like a sensitive moment and all right, cool. And then you shut them down later on.
Yeah.
I mean, used to have a thing where like they were going to deploy these electronic darts that from the front of the car that shoots
Yeah,
the car and disables it. I'm like,
those are
okay,
still out there. Those are still out there. But the funny thing about those is they don't work if it's raining.
Dan. And again, spike strips. It's funny how the technology hasn't changed that much. It still depends on a human officer lugging this extremely heavy thing and like, all right, go for it. Teams, hopefully they get it. And meanwhile, the cop behind them doing 120 has to also swerve and avoid it. It's insane.
Totally agree, dude. All right. What else you got? Any other stories that you liked in particular? I've got at least one more to mention.
Um, you might have to bring it up on your computer, but I did see that Ford won an award this month for having the most recalls ever of the year. 6 months in, and they broke the record for the most recalls. So good, good old Ford.
Yeah, it is a major, major, major issue over at Ford that is tough to quantify. But a whole bunch of good folks have done it, including my colleagues over at CarScoops. Let's see here. Let's see here. We actually wrote this a few weeks ago because we could see this coming.
Mm.
June 21st, Ford already topped last year's recall numbers, and it's only June. What is it? A recall every 2.12 days for Ford. We broke it down even further. On average, so to this point, in June, it is July 18th while we're recording this podcast, everybody. In June, they had already recalled, let's see here, trying to see how many total, 4,077,666 vehicles. So on average, all of their recalls to this point, there were 66, 50,341 calls per recall. So every 2.12 days, another 50,000 were getting recalled. The biggest was a recall about backup cameras affecting 1,075,299 cars. And the sad part is, I'm pretty sure oh no, you know what? It was not outdone. The recall from July 10th, Ford recalls 850,000 more cars. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
What I feel bad for are the technicians who have to deal with those recalls at the dealerships.
Yeah.
Just what right and like just go. The dealerships are the ones who had to deal with all this recalls at the end of the day with the end customers. The people coming in like, no, I don't want this anymore, or fix it. Or like, why isn't it fixed yet? It's been in the shop for 3 months. I had a former coworker who had his Ford EcoSport that he regretted it immediately after he bought it because it was in the shop for 6 months for a recall. 6 months while he was still paying for it.
This is not an Alfa Romeo we're talking about, everybody. This is a Ford EcoSport.
And mostly because that car is basically a global car, so it was brought over from Europe, and so that means like, oh, we now you have to get parts from overseas, come over here, and it was a whole ordeal. He's much happy now. He sold it as soon as he got it and got another vehicle, so he's happier. But he hated that. It's like, yeah, imagine having to pay for a car for 6 months and never driving it because it's at the shop. I mean, that's insane. And but maybe that's what happens when the CEO is also a podcaster instead of being a CEO. But that's a whole other story.
Jim's got a lot going on. What can I say? Jim's got a lot going on, as does any CEO.
Mm.
As does any CEO. So as we come to our conclusion this week, Jesus, what are you looking forward to? What's coming down the pipeline for you? Tell us all about it.
It's tough, man, because at least I'm gonna get a new rotation with a different fleet company. The one I'm doing right now, no names because I do like them a lot. They don't tell me what kind of car I'm gonna get until the night of, the night before I'm getting it. That's when I get the contract. Like, oh, cool, I'm getting Armada, whatever it is, which is kind of fun in a way because like I have no idea that what's going to be. It's gonna be an
It's a
SUV,
surprise.
truck, sports car. What is it? New Supra, maybe. So right now, I'm just anxious to drive the Nissan Platinum Reserve, the Armada. I'm taking it down to my hometown. It's a 2 hour drive, so I'm gonna be able to test it out on the highway, see if it's the ride improves, take it to the ranch. I'm not gonna do any crazy off-roading with it because I already done that. But it still has to be able to drive on a dirt road to my ranch, and that's a good aspect of it. It's like, all right, well, it has the settings for it for dirt and ruts and mud. Let's see what it can do. I'm gonna see if my family likes it because again, that's part of the point. So me get a big SUV, fill it with people, and ask them how's the ride in the back seat, how's the ride in the third row, how do you feel? Do you feel dizzy? Do you feel like you're on the school bus? Whatever it is. I will say though, I still miss the the Mercedes Sprinter van. I mean, it's been a few days since that one went away, and I miss it honestly. I did not think I was gonna like it that much, but it was a really fun cruiser. I understand why people like them and basically turn them into their home away from home, into RVs or whatever it is, because it's just a really nice driver. Um, I'm still waiting on the Charger EV though. I don't think I'm going to get it this year. I might have to borrow one from a friend. But oddly enough, today, while I was making my rounds at work, I saw a 2025 Charger Daytona EV at a used car lot for $48,000. And it wasn't like, a certified dealership. No, it was a buy here, pay here, one of those shady lots. I'm like, dude, how did that end up here so quickly? This car just came out. So I don't know. It looked good. It was all black. It has a great sinister look to it. But I was like, oof, if it's already here, ouch.
Not a good sign.
But at least I know where that one's at. I might ask for a test drive. Who knows?
Tough to say. Tough to say. Well, what am I looking forward to? We're going to have more news about Monterey Car Week, I'm sure, next week and the week following as we get closer to that. This week out there in California, I saw somebody put a Ferrari F40 up for sale on Craigslist, which I didn't even know was still alive.
Yeah.
So it's up there right next to a bunch of $5,000 beaters. We have someone asking $5 million for an F40. Throughout the rest of the week, I'm going to be testing the WRX. We're going to rip some handbrake turns and just see what it's got for us. And next week, we'll probably talk more random car news that we hear about from here and there. We're going to find out how the Armada did for Jesus. Be sure to test out the Pro Pilot thing. I will say that is pretty spectacular on a 2 hour highway trip. I did like it quite a bit.
I'll do
So
that.
thanks for joining us this week as we talk through the WRX, the Armada, recall problems, and all sorts of other news. Send us what you're driving. Send us your questions about the automotive industry and anything you want to know about it. And we'll see you next week.